no question that this is where I belong. And it was a bumpy ride to get there. It was like I leapt off a cliff.
Tell me of that which formed you.
How can an animal weighing 1,000 pounds be so responsive? You know, so that was like the start of large animal love.
I've been following you for a decade, and you're a very prominent, very outspoken veterinary homeopath. And how did you get there? I'd love to do some background. You know, if we don't get
Yeah,
in much veterinary medicine today, I'm okay with that. There's, we're not
yeah,
here to
sure.
heal facts. Yeah, Google can do that or whatever you choose. But I want to know what drives you. What's in your blood? That's what I'd love to establish. Well, just to explore maybe with you.
Yeah,
So
yeah.
tell me about.
It's been a fun journey with some bumps along the way. But unlike most of my colleagues who I've said who have told stories about becoming disenchanted, I wasn't really. I was a fourth guy in a four-man practice, a mixed practice
Mhm.
in Wisconsin, the upper tier of states, the dairy state.
Yeah.
Busy working mainly on dairy cows. I saw some dogs on the nights when it was my emergency duty, but otherwise I was busy working on dairy cows and loving it, really.
Yeah, I love
But
dairy cows.
toward the end of 7 years or into the end of the 6th year, I started getting interested in alternatives, that just came to my attention. It was barely I don't think it was even quite internet time yet. So I started the practice in 1980,
Mhm.
or joined these other guys who were already established. And then about 86 or 87, probably even 85, 86, I went off to a great big veterinary meeting that's called the Western States Meeting. And one of the presenters was somebody talking about acupuncture in dairy cows. And I went, whoa, that
Okay.
sounds interesting.
Yeah.
So I, uh, I went and listened, and he just kinda outlined how he was injecting B12 into acupuncture points, and he gave us some handouts with maps and stuff, and I came home and keen to try it. I started injecting dairy cows with mastitis and dairy cows with I don't know what other challenges, um, and, I'm not sure I saw much, to write home about, but it was interesting, and my mind was kinda going in that direction. But, again, happy, bought into this practice as a partner and, beautiful, beautiful country. I got to drive farm to farm every day. It was just, you know, Harriet-like in the dales or something is my picture of it.
Yeah.
But I started getting into metaphysics. Somehow I met a woman. I was married, had a young daughter, and I met a woman somewhere in a neighboring town who was a channeler and started, uh, just doing some channeling with her and
What does that
s
mean, Will? What is channeling?
channeling, for her, she was talking with some entity, right? Some
Mhm.
non-physical entity and getting communications through
Mhm.
that entity, and I didn't have any such connection with anybody, but I apparently was able to pull something out of somewhere, with what she kinda taught me. And
Mhm.
we went on to, have a regular kind of a get together and, came to wanna put on like a seminar, and we
Mhm.
actually charged something to teach people how to channel.
Okay.
And, I thought, "Well, that's interesting," until it happened, and then I went, "No, this isn't a fit for me. It's not where I wanna go with my life." But at the moment, I thought so strongly that it was, that another background piece of info, we were following a group of people that called themselves walk-ins.
Okay.
Walk-ins were people who claimed to have been from another planet, and they came to this planet looking like us,
Uh-huh.
but, having this otherworldly existence and saying one of their mantras was, "Trust your intuition. It's not there to screw you up."
Okay.
So, I had an intuition to quit and just do this channeling full time. And
Okay.
I trusted it and followed it and went home and laid down next to my wife and said, "Tomorrow I'm quitting." This is after 7 years of
Wow.
bought-in partner. Yeah. So her
Wow.
mind was a little blown, and my partners couldn't figure it out. The farmers went, You're" I didn't say what I was doing. I just said, "It's time for me to, explore other things." But
Yeah.
that was the basis for it. Well, all that fell apart in short order, and, um, we got some cash from the buyout as a partner and went on a travel and ended up my wife left me for another guy, left me with my daughter of 4 years old for another guy right in
Whoa.
front of me, and
Whoa.
so it was just like this bumpy ride, but I realized I'm still a vet somewhere and inside. I'm not a channeler, I'm not a metaphysical guy, I'm a vet, and there's gotta be some other way to do it.
Okay.
And one thing led to another, and I realized that other way to do it was to become a holistic vet. And so I joined the American
Holistic
vet.
veterinary medicine
Yeah,
associate.
yeah, 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 and started getting their journal and started reading about these amazing cases that were cured with needle insertion or cured with these non-physical remedies that were given to, that shouldn't have worked based on their dilution,
Yeah.
but they cured cases, and I went, "Whoa, that's amazing."
Yeah.
And so I want more of that.
Cool.
And so one thing led to another, and I basically retooled, Nick. I just
Mm.
first one was IVAS. I took the International Veterinary Acupuncture Society, year-long training. I was flying
Yeah, me
back and
too.
forth.
Yeah.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
So that's how so many of us got to start, right? I mean, it's like physical, yet you're also doing something energetic, and you're healing without poisoning anybody, and it was all pretty interesting.
But what
But
was the impetus? I mean, conventional vets do not do that, and I'm not
right,
knocking conventional vets. They do great work within their paradigm.
right.
That's great. But you must have had something in you, that allowed
Just
you to
It was,
to
like,
to
just more interesting. This is more interesting. Yeah, it wasn't that conventional medicine was anathema or something. It was okay. I mean, I was helping animals, and I loved my work, and the farmers loved me, and my partners all loved me, and I loved them.
Yeah,
But it
yeah.
was just like, there's more interest in here, right? You see that brighter, shinier thing, and you go, "Oh, I want more of that."
I thought that was
So that was it.
it was an intellectual curiosity, you think?
And feeling, there was something moving me from the inside going, "This is the path for you."
Okay,
There
that's
there's
good. Yeah.
and there was, like, nobody doing it hardly. Interestingly, the old guys who were teaching this stuff were often ill themselves, the acupuncture teachers weighed 200 pounds and smoked and weren't that healthy,
Yeah.
and I went, "Well, okay, you're teaching me some cool stuff, but how odd," you'd think that wouldn't be the paradigm.
Yeah.
But anyway, after sticking needles in animals for about a year,
Yeah.
we were living on Maui at the time, a new family and I, and we were gonna host, or we were gonna help the AHVMA bring their meeting to Kauai. We were on Maui, a different island, and Kauai was gonna have the meeting,
Yeah.
and Hurricane Iniki was coming about the same time.
Okay.
So we're one island removed, and the whole island just went dead still as this hurricane was approaching. Everyone
Wow.
had gassed up their cars, boarded up their windows. We lived in the rainforest, and every bird stopped cheeping,
Yep.
every leaf stopped moving.
Wow.
It was eerie, Nick. It was
Yeah.
so strange, and it ended up running over, Kauai and just causing all sorts of mayhem and
Yeah.
destruction, but Maui wasn't touched. So my wife at the time just said, I'll figure out how to bring it here. Let's keep the convention on the same dates, and we'll just move people here."
Okay.
And so one thing led to another, and all these holistic vets descended on Maui, and I got to host them basically.
Okay.
And one of them was Dr. Richard Pitcairn,
Okay,
and
Richard. Yeah.
he gave a great lecture on homeopathy after someone else gave one that was confusing as hell, that I thought, "What is she talking about? All these onion peeling layers and this
Yeah.
remedy, then that remedy." She had a whole cookbook, you know?
Yeah.
Richard just came and presented it the way Hahnemann would do it, and said, "This is what works." And
Okay.
I went, "Oh, this sounds even more interesting than sticking needles in animals." Some of those animals didn't like the needles so much,
Yeah.
but there
Yeah.
were still some really interesting cases.
Yeah, for sure.
So after about a year of being an acupuncture vet, I started traveling back and forth to the mainland US to study with him, and I did a year-long certification, his first certification training there.
Yeah.
And from the first module, I just fell in love with it. It was just
Yeah.
like, "Yes, this is my medicine. This is
Okay.
so cool."
Yeah. It's like dealing with magic, isn't it? When you give this infinitesimal
Yeah.
something and
Yes.
you actually change physiology. It's a crazy
Yeah.
when you do it for the first time, it's like, "Oh my goodness.
Yeah.
How could it
Yeah.
possibly" it blows your mind. Even if you've been studying years and years and years, you see something that's kind of cut and dried and uh, is without a doubt, there are no confounding factors. You didn't change the diet. You didn't, I don't know,
Yeah.
move an obstacle to cure. The dog was in really bad shape. You gave a remedy. Owner disappeared, so there was very little kind of placebo effect. There's always a placebo effect with any prescription, but they go away, and then you happen to meet them in the street 6 months later, and the dog with some horrendous disease is trotting along, happy as Larry.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
what happened, isn't it?
Yeah. Yeah. It
It's
was
crazy.
just amazing. Yeah.
It
So
is.
once I saw that, it was like no going back, and I put the needles away, and about a year later, put all my antibiotics in the trash. I said, "I'm not gonna need these anymore."
Yeah,
Stopped vaccinating, at another 6 months, and went, not even the rabies, you can get that from anybody on any corner.
yeah,
A disease you don't have to worry about there in the UK, but, a big deal, and, I was still in Hawaii when I started, but then shortly thereafter moved to Texas where rabies became a thing. So Hawaii, like you, is rabies free, but,
yeah,
Texas was a rabies quarantine state, actually.
yeah.
So, yeah, there was just, no question that this is where I belong, and, it was a bumpy ride to get there. It was like I leapt off a cliff, literally, figurative. I leapt off a cliff and,
Yeah.
bounced around for a while and went into poverty and, thought I was gonna buy a practice in Hawaii, and it fell through. It was just like one thing after I couldn't get a license in Hawaii originally. I had been licensed in 5 different states, and then I took the boards in Hawaii. They flunked me, and I went, "Oh,
Uh,
man." And then along came this opportunity to study rabies for the state, and I went, "Yeah, I'll take it. Anything. Just help me pay the bills, man."
yeah.
So, but
Okay, that's amazing.
once that all let up, then it was like, "Okay, now I'm home. Thanks.
Okay.
I
Yeah,
feel
yeah,
good."
yeah. I get you. I really get you. So, I'm fascinated with the roots, not only of disease, but of people. Tell me of your childhood. Tell me of that which formed you.
Huh.
Uh, your
I was a
parents, brothers
Yeah,
and
yeah.
sisters,
I
connections.
landed in a Episcopalian family,
Yeah,
and, so God was there, at least on Sundays, and, I'm sure I was an oops because my 3 siblings that were ahead of me were, like, 7 years ahead of me.
yeah, yeah.
So I'm this little kid who came into the world going, "Hey, where is everybody?" "Oh, they're out, they're going
Okay.
to high school or college or whatever,
Yeah,
joining the army," and I'm still this, walking around little kid. But, into that milieu of kind of, somewhat lonely and being almost an only kid really,
Yep. Yep.
came our first dog. This priest who was friendly to us and would invite over every Sunday for brunch said, "Well, I'm going off on a sabbatical, and I'm looking for someone to take Stosh, this little mini poodle. Would you do it?" And my parents said, "Yeah.
Okay.
Would you like to be the dog walker, Will?" You know? And I went, "Oh, yeah. Feed her. I'll do everything. I'll clean up after him, whatever." I'd never had a dog.
Yeah.
And so that was like the start of, ah, animals. What a great thing.
Mm.
And we just became fast friends, and then when he came back, probably a year or 2 later and took Stosh, we went, "Oh, we gotta have a dog in the house."
Okay.
So, went out and bought a puppy, beautiful little basset hound puppy, and he was mine. There was just, like, no question, you know? So, Loopy and I would go around the block on the skateboard, him pulling me on the leash, and you know, all those things wrestling on the floor, I'd get all scratched up, and mom would say, "Come on now, wash up for dinner," you know, and I'd just have this tussling match where it was teeth and saliva and everything everywhere. But,
Yeah.
that was a saving grace, and when I got to be 11, I think, I went off to a Y camp
Uh-huh.
for, at first just 10 days, but they had a herd of horses. And I went, "Oh, that's interesting."
How
So
they?
it's
Yeah. Big, energetic.
big animals, like,
Uh,
and responsive animals.
yeah.
How can an animal weighing 1,000 pounds be so responsive, you know? It's like, "Whoa, they're not lunks, they're really interactive and responsive."
Yeah.
And around the same time, my older brother came back into the picture, and he was a horse nut for draft horses. He loved the Clydesdale.
Mhm.
So, between him and the boys' camp, I just became fast friends with horses and learned how to ride really well, and, got to choose my own horse when I started going for a month at a time,
Mhm.
based on, you know, taking a riding test with all these other boys and coming out on top, and I got first pick, and I went, "I want Ride. He's the guy who you can neck rein and everything," you know? So, that was like the start of large animal love and going, "Whoa." Especially, I'll always remember walking in a slip stall, you know, just a narrow stall next to this 2,000-pound Clydesdale and going, "Just move over, sweetie." And just by touching her, she just
Yeah.
sidestepped over for me and let me by, you know, no question.
Yeah.
And I okay, this and my mom, this is interesting too. My mom knew, I don't know if you experienced anything like this, but my mom knew well before me that I was gonna be a vet. She
Okay.
suggested it, in fact.
Okay.
And I went, "Oh, mom." My older brother was one of these guys who a heroic figure until I realized he was a black sheep. He was saying, I'm gonna get by with the minimum amount of college and just go out and earn some money. I don't wanna stay in school very long." And I
Okay.
went, "Oh, mom, that's an extra 4 years of college, you know, I don't think so." Until finally I had in undergrad school a biologist professor who I just fell in love with. Dr. Esser was this really cool guy. He taught an organic gardening class on the side, and I followed him through about 2 years of biology and, got good grades and loved him and loved what he was teaching. We went on field trips around Wisconsin, and so between the horse love and the biology fascination, I went, "Oh, a veterinarian, yeah, that makes great sense," you know?
Yeah.
Then it'll be a biological love affair.
Yeah.
And so then it was like, "Yeah, you're right, mom. I'm going, or I'm gonna try to go." And,
Yeah.
that was a little bit of a struggle as well. I applied first to 5 different schools and was turned down by all 5. They didn't
Okay.
have one in my state at the time, so I was an out-of-state applicant to all these different states, and I went, "Oh, well, then who gave me the worst, or who gave me the least worst refusal letter? I'm gonna move to that state."
Okay.
And so I moved to Missouri and, became a resident after working in a biochem lab, and then got in. And then got in by the seat of my pants, actually. I got in on the wait list. And
Wow.
so once I found out I was in, I was like, "Whoa, finally."
Yeah, yeah.
And ran
And
off and backpacked for a week before I
Yeah.
got in.
Well, how old were you when you started vet school?
Let's see. Uh, I must have been, if I graduated at 27, I must have been 23, 24. Yeah,
Okay.
23. Yeah.
Okay. Still
So
pretty young.
I just I just skipped a year to work after college. I
Yeah.
went 4 years undergrad and then worked for a year as a lab tech and then got in. So
And how
yeah,
did you find college? That I've never asked anybody that before.
largely interesting. Yeah, I mean, you took a smattering of classes in your first couple of years. Psychology was pretty interesting to me, and
Mm.
probably sociology. I guess I don't remember, but
Oh, wow.
fast student in biology, just loved it. Chemistry, struggle, I had to take biochem and that was a struggle, but, loved biology
Yeah.
and, yeah, and so it was close. I originally started going to a campus just, in my town,
Mm.
and then I went, "Oh, I wanna go to Madison where, it's really serious college and a get away from home kind of a situation." But
Yeah.
I moved from classrooms of 30, 40 people to classrooms that looked like theaters
Mm.
with 150 people, and the professor's way down there as this tiny figure, and I went, "No." And I gotta get good grades, I gotta get a 3.5 or a better grade point average to get into vet school. So I came back home and finished up there. But yeah, the vet school time was just, I was sailing. I mean, a lot of work, as you
Right.
well know, but I
Yeah.
I loved it. Yeah.
Yeah.
And
I'd love to talk to you another time about biology because because just in the latter years, I've been thinking that biology is too complex for conventional science, Newtonian science, to get hold of, and we
yeah,
haven't grasped that as a society. You did see sociology,
yeah,
but just as a human being, you kind of get it. Um, and I'm very interested as to how that paradigm that we have been taught that a calorie is a calorie, and that energy simply comes from the mitochondria. I'm sure you got things to say about that. That's a very, even from a biochemical point of view, that's a very interesting thing. And then you get into the near infrared coming in and all this stuff. But just from a philosophical, I don't think in veterinary medicine there's enough philosophy. Actually, I think that as well as food, which we're not really taught, I think we should teach vets philosophy, because when you're dealing with life and death, and you're dealing with healing, and you're dealing with people, and you're dealing with society, and you're dealing with families, I think a good grounding in who you are, what makes you tick, what's behind, why do it at all, what is medicine, where are you playing God? All these questions I don't think are really massively addressed at vet college. You kind of pick it up along the way if you're so inclined, but I I
yeah,
I I would be, I mean, I'm not qualified to teach philosophy, but I'm qualified to ask a lot of questions, and that would be really nice to do that with young vets, like first year, second year vets, to just say, "Listen, guys, you're in a really privileged position. You're bright, you're motivated, and you're going to be doing some really extraordinary stuff, even from a conventional perspective. You're doing extraordinary stuff. And this course, you might find, is a bit of a life raft to get you through, because the the mental health problems within the veterinary profession are enormous.
they are.
The
They are.
suicide rate is enormous, and I think that's because people are at sea. Just to continue the metaphor, they're motivated. They're very driven by big food and big pharma, unbeknownst to them, in my opinion. And I think they just feel kind of pushed by clients, by the boss, by economics, by big food, big pharma. And So I do think some philosophy. Where would you be on that? I think you'd probably be a very good philosophy teacher at vet college.
I don't know that the mechanistic thing gave way to a deeper understanding once homeopathy landed for me. You
Okay.
know, it's like you couldn't explain it based on Newtonian physics.
For
It
sure.
just doesn't work that way.
Yeah.
But I'm also the kind of guy where um, I'm happy that it works, and I don't need to know, the research that proves it works, because
Yeah.
it works in animals, but for God's
Yeah.
sake, and it works in infant children who have
Yeah.
no placebo, anything, you know?
Yeah.
So, there's people like Benvenisti and these folks who are studying water and how you dilute something into water, a million times, and it still, if you have a little bit of remedy in that dilution, it still affects these cells that degranulate and let histamine go or whatever.
Yeah. Yeah.
That's fine, go for it if you wanna plunge down that rabbit hole, but I like to stay simpler and just know that there's magic in the world,
Yeah.
and putting a dry needle into somebody and having an outcome that's a healing outcome,
Mm.
or putting a ultra diluted remedy on their tongue and having an outcome that conventional medicine couldn't affect.
Yep.
I love that magic. I'll
Yeah.
always be more interested in that than what a drug can do to depress a symptom, or
Yeah.
suppress a
Yeah.
symptom.
Yeah, it's
Yeah,
just more interesting, isn't it?
yeah.
It's more ethereal. Um, the thing is, in our modern world, we conjure with a phenomenon for which we do not have answers every single day. What comes to mind is quantum computing. I'm sure people can kind of explain the nuts and bolts of it, but actually, there's a lot happening there. For example, I could, if I thought for a second, I would think of another. Just electrons, are they particles? Are they waves? We're dealing with these very difficult to intellectualize concepts all the time, and yet homeopathy comes along, which uh, contradicts and challenges the pharmaceutical paradigm. And I'm sure that's got a lot to do with the fact it's been quashed around the world. But
Yeah.
we're dealing with stuff we don't understand all the time. Things like Prozac, they don't really know the mechanism of that on a simplistic basis. They do, but you start taking Prozac, it takes 30 days to kick in. Why is that?
Yeah,
There's
yeah.
we're dealing with unknowns, and I'm sure you could look at 1,000 disciplines, and they'd all, when you get up to a really, really high level, they'll go, I don't know why it happens, it just does. However, the
I
text, they're saying,
I
if
I
you
hope a
a
lot of people say that. I
I
really hope a lot of scientists are humble enough to say that. We don't understand,
I think
but
it's a
we
sign
see this, we observe it.
it's the sign of a good scientist to say, I don't know. I say it all the time. I say to my clients
Yeah.
absolutely all the time. Uh, w I'm really keen to keep this to just half an hour, but, because I think it's nice to end, uh with some pondering as opposed to end with a conclusion. So, yeah,
You're a philosopher, man.
I don't know. I just think everybody is. It's whether you let it out or not. That's what it comes down to. I would love to catch up with you again sometime, my friend.
Sure, sure.
This has been felt really good, really right. I wasn't quite sure. I thought, it's either gonna be great or it's not gonna be so great, but I'm very much into, following the feel of of how these things go, and this has been really right, and I'm usually quite nervous before podcasts, but I wasn't with this. I just thought,
Good,
we're in the right place right
good.
now." And there you
So
are. You're in India, in Uttar Pradesh. Lucky, lucky thing. And I'm in beautiful Wiltshire. I'm just looking at the trees Here, the sun is shining right now, and spring is springing. What
Yeah.
season are you? You must be in spring as well, I
Hot,
guess.
hot. Yeah, April is like April, May, and June are the hottest months in India, in northern India anyway. And so it's crazy. It just went from very comfortable to very hot. And
Yeah,
I'm riding my bike down the street, from my seva to my home for 5
yeah,
minutes, and it's like my arms are almost burning off. Well, UV is good for me, right? Okay, just stay a little longer, go a little loop longer. But, yeah, it's hot. I can't wait to get up in the mountains.
yeah, yeah. You're doing that. You have to tell us of your travels as
Sure.
uh, as we go. I would like to speak to you uh, periodically to
Sure,
catch up,
sure.
my friend. It's really pleasant. It's an indulgence for me to just enjoy your vibe, as they say these days. So I'm going to cut it short there. I'm going to be absolutely brutal. I don't want to, but I
That's
will.
okay. Sure.
And
It's a consumable length of time, otherwise it can be, people look at an hour and go, "Oh, I don't know if I've got an hour."
yeah,
But sure,
yeah, half
it's
an
fine.
hour. Yeah, you can do something in half an hour. Not much, but you can do something. And this has been superb. I really appreciate it. It's in the afternoon for you. It's like what, 3, 4 in the afternoon?
Yeah, yeah, 3:30.
Okay. Well, I wish you a great afternoon. And thank you for your time. It's been really valuable, really rewarding, and really warming for me. So
Good,
I
good.
really appreciate that. I'm
Pleasure
gonna
to
go.
meet you on our first live, on Substack as well. I've never done
Yeah,
it, you've never done it. I think we
no,
pulled it off okay.
I think well, if people don't like it,
It's
there are
okay.
channels that you can investigate. Yeah, if you want facts, yeah, well, maybe we'll get into facts one of these days, but I think a bedrock of philosophy and connection
Yeah,
is really
yeah,
important. Yeah,
yeah, it is, it is.
amazing. Well, I'm going to bid you a very good day, my friend. All the
Thanks
very
for having me, Nick.
It's great to see you, man. Um, I just pressed the leave button, and then we're done.
Yeah, I've got an end button here, so I think that's it.
All
So
right,
long
I'm
for now. We'll see
great
you
to
the
see
next
you.
time.
Take it easy. See you. Happy travels. See you.